Turkish President Erdogan is now increasingly against the internet every day. Turkish President Erdogan has a long history of stifling critical media, a history of using the courts to silence political enemies, and has actually gotten Turkey blacklisted as a leading jailer of journalists worldwide. There are serious issues in terms of press freedom and freedom of speech already in Turkey. And hundreds of military officers, academics, and lawyers are actually being detained, a lot of them accused of plotting against the government. Critics say this is simply a way to stifle dissent by President Erdogan. And he has now defended his government's efforts to control online speech. And he said this at a press freedom conference. Think about that for a second. A press freedom conference where President Erdogan says, "I am increasingly against the internet every day." He's not against internet scams. He's not against the use of the internet to bully people or to commit crimes. He's just increasingly against the internet, period. He made the comments during a meeting with the Committee to Protect Journalists and the International Press Institute. Turkey's leaders have aggressively defended their record on press freedom. Of course, if you talk to anybody on the ground who has not had their ability to speak stifled already, they will tell you that it's a very, very different story there. And this happened just after a new law that even further tightens control of the internet, and it increases the power held by telecom authorities. This is not the right direction, Lewis, if Turkey wants to join the EU.
If considering what's going on right now with the clashes with ISIS supporters in Turkey, and which we will talk about on the bonus show and things like that, I can understand authorities, people who maybe don't necessarily have a firm grasp of how important the internet is and what it can do, thinking, you know what, this is causing more harm than good. But it's also having the opposite effect and showing a lot of other people about atrocities and about things that are happening in the world that they might otherwise be kind of ignorant about.
Right. And while broadly speaking, the kind of hypothetical scenario you're outlining can be valid, it can be accurate. If we look at the specifics of the situation in Turkey, I mean, earlier this year, Erdogan tried to block access to Twitter and YouTube after Turkish users were spreading allegations of corruption before the then upcoming election. That can't be the catalyst for locking down the internet if you want to appear to be doing it in the best interests of everybody involved,
That's true, but I'm sure you can understand his frustration, especially if those corruption allegations were false. The internet can certainly destroy a person just based on false rumors.
I hope, Lewis, that you're just playing devil's advocate here. I mean, because I know we'll get emails from people saying, is Lewis advocating for the fascist-style internet lockdown of Turkish President Erdogan? I don't think that that's what you're doing. You're just saying there are certain situations where this can be a real problem. But you could even make the argument, Lewis, that in those situations, if you believe in free speech, you allow people to say what they want, and others can respond in the way that makes the most sense.
And that's what happens on the internet. Yes.
That's certainly what happens, at least for the most part, in the U.S. on the internet. Of course, whatever you do is you're allowed to say it, but the NSA is monitoring it. So that's kind of a different type of problem. We'll talk to Bill Scher. He says it might be a good thing if the Democrats lose the Senate and don't take control of the House in next month's election. That's next.